What is up, YouTubers? Alright, so it's Friday. I'm a little bit late. Usually I make this video before Friday, but now it is actually Friday and I haven't put it up yet. So this is like a rush job. So if the quality is kind of give me a break at it. So, last week I told you guys that we would be reviewing we had the sticky pad, but then at the end of the video I showed you what we were doing this week, and that is the tiny little rubber O-rings. And these little rubber O-rings are for soft mounting, and so I've gone ahead and pre-done that for you. They are in there. It is very hard to see, but they are in there, right there. And I was going to take this out and fly and see if it made an ounce of difference. But yeah, it snowed here where I live. I'm not going to tell you where I live. I am not down with that bullshit. Here, I'll point you out my back window right here. You can probably see it. It's not a whole lot of snow, but it's like, it was 2 degrees this morning. 2. Which in Celsius is like negative fuck you. So, no, I'm not going out there. It's not good for my batteries. It's not good for the quad. And I don't want to be cold. So, we'll have to save that part for another day. Which is unfortunate. But today, I have an easy one that we're going to plug in here. And this right here, this is another cheap FPV option. I don't know if you can tell what these are, but they are just tiny little rubberized plugs for your micro USB port to keep junk from getting in there. So, you know, if I had decided to go out and fly today and I did, you know, a little bit of a rough landing or crashed or smacked into something, these guys would have prevented my mini USB port on my flight controller from getting gunk in it. Here, I'm going to hold this real close. Look at that. Alright, so, I mean, there's not much more I can do to review this thing other than to show you. And it'll be another thing that I want to test when I go out to fly, to see if this thing, when I go to roll, if the, you know, centrifugal force of the roll is just going to fling this thing out there. Because, I mean, look, it goes and it sits right in there. But, you know, if I do this, see if it comes out at all. I don't think it's going to come out. I've already lost one. I think you're supposed to get 6. I got 5, and I lost one. So I'm down to 4. Anyway, I'll let you guys know. And other than that, that's all we're doing here for FPV On The CHEAP, episode 3. That's right, I forgot to introduce it. This is episode 3. And next week, I don't know what I'm getting in the mail next. So we'll see what happens for episode 4. I'm hoping something gets here in time. My plan for ordering something every Friday, like a month and a half in advance, isn't working out for me so well. I mean, like, I have things so far, but I haven't received my next thing. So, we'll see what happens. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on, guys. There's not a whole lot to show you. But I did want to give one update while I'm here. So, I have another little video playlist of my quad build, my most recent quad build. It's like a 6-parter or 4-parter or something. And I got 4 flights out of that flight controller before it burst into flame. And I have a couple of reviews online on my YouTube channel here that are the Racer Star F3S. And so Banggood sent me another one. They did me a solid, right? And I get that one, and I plug the battery in for the very first time, and it bursts into flame on the ESC. I order a smoke stopper, which, if you don't know what that is, you should get one of those. And I was just not a very good hobbyist and didn't have one, but it keeps your board from bursting into flames. If there's something wrong with it, it's basically a fuse. To plug in the battery, if something's wrong, it's going to blow that fuse instead of blowing up your board. So I get a third one, and I do it so well. I go through the whole thing. I mean, I made sure the board was functional. I made sure that at each step along the way that it was functional as I added a new component like my camera. All right, test it. Now I'm going to add the receiver. Okay, test it. Now I'm going to add the transmitter. Now the VTX. Now test it. And everything's good. Everything seems to be functioning. My smoke stopper didn't go off. Nothing bad happened. And I get it all set up in Betaflight. As soon as I throttle up, everything powers down. The board shuts off, the receiver goes off, the VTX cuts out, and nada. So I don't know what's going on there. I need an expert to help me on that guy. Maybe I'll start emailing Joshua Bardwell and be like, hey man. But I don't have the fancy testing tools, so I can't go along each point on here with my little probes and be like, oh, here's where the problem is. So what I did to troubleshoot was I took everything off. Absolutely everything. The only thing that was left that I had on there was what would be needed to see if it was functional. So I had my battery lead so I could plug in a battery. I have my motors wired to it. And the only other thing is this is my connector for my receiver so I can communicate with my transmitter. And still the same problem. I get maybe like 25% of my throttle and it goes stops. Nothing. So essentially I am done with the Racer Star F3S. I've had 3 now. I think maybe I'm just unlucky because I see other people they love this thing. And I'm sitting there going, man, I can't get one to work. So I'm going to go back to separate components. I'm going to order a flight controller, a power distribution board, and an ESC board, 4-in-1 ESC, because I still like that, and see if I can get this thing to work. The only thing I could possibly think of is somehow I've damaged a motor and it's drawing like just a shit ton of amps. But I can't see that happening. You know, I don't know. So we'll see. If it continues to happen when I get my new parts, you'll hear about it. Anyway, that was way more in depth than I wanted to go. But tune in next week for FPV on the cheap. Oh, I know what we're doing next week. Duh. I've been saying it this whole time. Smoke stopper. We'll go over this guy right here. This is a little preview. I'm not going to tell you anything else about it. Bam. So tune in next week for FPV on the cheap. And have a good one. Take it easy. Peace out.